Hello students, today I'll explain about the lactation. So what is lactation and what are the phenomena we should know here, some concepts and phenomena in lactation. So first is definition of lactation. Lactation is production of milk by mammary glands. Production of milk by mammary glands is called lactation. Now, at what time do lactation begin? That means once the lactation starts, which specific time it will begin? Before parturition, the mammary glands will be preparing for the upcoming lactation events. Okay, so lactation usually begins after parturition. So lactation will be after parturition. So lactation is a phenomena that is going to occur after the parturition. It means that this production of milk in the mammary glands will begin within 24 hours after the parturition. So this was the definition of lactation. What is importance of lactation? Since production of milk occurs during lactation, the milk is used to nourish the young ones, and therefore this becomes the parental care is present in case of the mammals. So young ones requires nourishment and providing of nutrients, and therefore for the providing of nutrients for the young ones. So that becomes important since parental care is present in mammals. So this was about the definition of lactation. Next is I'll briefly explain about the structure of mammary glands again in short, and then uh, tell about how the events, how this structure can be related to concepts. Concept called lactation. So, lactation, you know that mammary glands will be divided into lobes. These lobes are in specific, these lobes are in a particular number, that is 15 to 20 of these lobes will be present in the mammary glands. So this can further be divided into lobules. This can further be divided into lobules, each one having several, each lobule having several milk secreting units. So milk secreting units in the mammary glands is called as alveoli. So there are cluster of cells in these alveoli, group of cells will be there. They have capability of producing the components of milk. That means they are the one that produces the milk. So therefore, this alveoli becomes glandular part. It is a glandular part. So broad divisions will be the glandular part as well as the duct part. Glandular part as well as the duct part. So here the milk secreting alveoli, from there several duct systems will arise. First one from here will be usually the mammary duct, which is going to dilate. A dilated structure is there after it, and that is called lactiferous sinus. And then after that comes lactiferous ducts. Okay. So therefore here what happens will be, this is going to be released outside through papillary structure called the nipple, which is surrounded by the areolae. Now in terms of lactation, which part is important is the glandular part. So glandular part is that part which is important for milk production, and therefore it can be relevant to what? Lactation. This term glandular part of mammary gland is related to lactation. It is because the glandular part, that part, there's the alveoli, that is the one that secretes the milk. Okay. And then duct portion is there. Duct portion are system of ducts starts right from the alveoli, and they will further join. One duct will join with the other duct. They unite and form another common duct, and they further join and form a dilated space there, which can be called as the sinus or an ampulla. Now, sinus, in sinus, some milk can be stored temporarily, and from there it is going to be released in the lactiferous ducts. From lactiferous duct, the milk is going to be released outside. Okay, so that is how what is called the ejection of milk. So duct part basically helps in ejection of milk, expulsion of milk, or you can tell help in transfer of milk. Help in the transfer of milk. Okay. So this is about the parts present. Apart from this, the mammary glands are going to have fat substance deposited in between the lobes. Fat substances deposited in between the lobes, as well as towards the outside. So therefore, if you consider again the mammary glands as combination of, say, even ligaments will be there, connective tissue, and it is lying about this muscles here called pectoralis major muscle, over the pectoralis major muscle. Fat is there. Some fine ligaments will cross the mammary glands, and therefore it will have fat content, and it will. So basically, the duct portion is going to help in transfer of the milk. So transport part right from alveoli towards outside, the transfer is there. That transfer, why it occurs, why it is useful is it is useful for a phenomena called milk ejection. This ejection is also called release of milk also, you can tell, release of milk or ejection of milk. Okay. So apart from this, it is main for lactation, the glandular part as well as the secretory part are important. Now, coming to which are the duct system in mammary glands. Duct system during milk ejection. Duct system during milk ejection. Now, what is the different duct system during milk ejection? First is, I already told, this is necessary because you'll come to know how the milk ejection occurs. First is alveoli, which is nothing but a glandular part where lactation occurs. Okay, so lactation occurs here. So lactation, when milk production occurs, the milk released by these cells of the alveoli will be stored in the cavity. That cavity is called as alveolar cavity. So surrounding cells and is going to be produced in alveolar cavity. So lactation occurs here in the alveolar cells. So from alveoli, then tubules or duct system are going to start, and they are called mammary tubules, mammary tubules, then second further mammary ducts. So mammary, in a lobe, many mammary tubules will further fuse and form a bigger duct, or you can tell a common duct there. So that common duct or the bigger duct formed by fusion of mammary tubules, it is called as mammary duct. So what is there is alveoli giving rise to mammary tubules, and mammary tubules fusing and forming mammary duct. It is a common duct because of fusion of different mammary tubules. Got? So this one here again, mammary tubule structurally becomes wide. When it structurally becomes wide, the dilated part or the wider part, that wider part is called as the ampulla. Okay. So it can also be called as the sinus. Okay. So the name therefore will be similar. That is, it's called mammary ampulla or lactiferous sinus. So here you should know that when lactation occurs, milk will be present in alveolar cavity. Milk will be present in alveolar cavity. So milk will be present in alveolar cavity. The mammary tubules, then mammary ducts. Then comes the memory ducts will further fuse and form lactiferous sinus. I told sinus is a bigger space, whereas size of these two will be smaller. Of course, the common duct will be a little bit bigger than the tubules. So what happens? The mammary ducts forms a wider region called lactiferous sinus. Wide space. Wider space is the lactiferous sinus. Now, lactiferous sinus is also known by one more name, and that is called memory ampulla because it's a dilated portion. When it is dilated, good enough space is created, so that's why it's named so. So it's called as or memory ampulla. Memory ampulla. So from the memory ampulla, here milk can be stored for some time. So whatever milk is ejected from the alveoli, it can be stored some time in this ampulla, which is just behind the nipple. So now here, the ampullary region, which is wide, is again dividing and splitting and forming small ducts. Okay, these ducts are called lactiferous ducts. As the name indicates, lacto means referring to the milk here. So, lactiferous ducts. These lactiferous ducts arise from lactiferous sinus. Okay. So, sinus is a single wide sinus is there, but from there itself, again, many smaller tubes will arise. Those smaller ducts are called as lactiferous ducts. These ducts will open outside through the pores. So several pores depending upon the number of lactiferous duct. Those many pores are supposed to be opening, understand, on the surface of nipple. So therefore, from lactiferous duct, it will finally go to the openings on the nipple. From there, it is going to be consumed by the young ones or it is released outside. So this path is very much important here. Got? So that is all about how the mammary glands. These are hemispherical prominences that are present. So therefore, this becomes what? Duct system during milk ejection. Or this whole path can be called as path of the flow of milk in the mammary glands. So how this can be now? You can also know it in this way, path of milk flow from mammary glands. So this becomes what now? This is the lactation, the path of milk flow, how the milk is conveyed from alveoli to outside. Then, what type of mechanism is lactation? Is it purely the nervous role or is it even hormonal role? Actually, both of them will be present. It means the lactation is both the nervous role as well as the hormonal role. So, therefore, it is neuroendocrine process. Neuroendocrine process. It is a neuroendocrine process. When we say, as the word indicates, you can divide this word into two parts. That is nervous role. That means role of nervous system is there here. That means nerve stimulus is there. Due to a nerve stimulus, what can start is reflexes regarding milk ejection reflex can start. Now, second is endocrine role. Now, endocrine role, as the word indicates, endocrine glands are those glands that are without the duct. Okay, and without the duct, and they are the one that secretes hormones. And these hormones will be released in the blood stream. So, from the in the bloodstream, they are going to be released. So here, endocrine function means here role will be for the hormonal roles. So hormones are involved. Both the nervous stimulus as well as hormonal role will be there. That is why we can see that this particular what you call lactation is a process of both help of with the help of nervous system as well as with the help of hormones. So therefore, it is a neuroendocrine process. Now, compared to parturition also, this is also a neuroendocrine process it is. So that is how lactation is a neuroendocrine process as well as parturition also is a neuroendocrine process. Now next is stimulation from the nerves. First, glands involved in lactation. So topic is lactation. Right, once more the topic. Topic is lactation. Glands involved in lactation. So two endocrine glands are very important for the process of lactation. Understand? And those are hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part of a brain. It is both is a center of the brain controlling various events, including it is also a gland. Because this hypothalamus have a neurosecretory cells, it is able to produce the hormones, and that is why endocrine gland is nothing but the hypothalamus. As you all know, hypothalamus controls one more gland, and that gland is pituitary gland. So if pituitary gland is called a master gland, hypothalamus will be called as a master of master glands. Okay. So here, hypothalamus does have a role in the what is called lactation. However, I'll tell in further how the role is. So glands during endocrine glands involved in lactation. It should be involved in lactation. So endocrine glands involved in lactation, one is hypothalamus, another is pituitary. So these two are main glands involved in lactation. These two are the main glands involved in lactation. Now, pituitary also is located in the brain. Okay, so there is sphenoid bone into which there is a depression called sella turcica. It is seated onto this sella turcica. So this gland controls all other glands of the body. So also it is controlling even the process of lactation. As you all know, even reproductive events are controlled by hormones of pituitary. So also lactation also is controlled by some of the hormones of pituitary, and some of the hormones are from hypothalamus. That's why we say these two glands are the main glands that is main glands that are involved in production of milk. Now, role of hormones in milk production. Role of hormones in milk production. So first hormone, two main hormones are there, like oxytocin. In the previous class, I have taught that how parturition, oxytocin can take part in parturition. Similarly, even oxytocin can take part in ejection of milk. And second hormone will be prolactin. Prolactin, as the name indicates, it does. So it is even its name indicates that it has a role in lactation. Understand? So the third hormone is human chorionic somatomamotropin. This also has a role in development of mammary gland, but not in lactation. Okay. So one by one, how these hormones will be involving in ultimately in the production. First one is oxytocin. First, I will take prolactin. Prolactin is secreted by the pituitary gland. But thing is, there are two lobes of the pituitary. As you all know, one is the anterior lobe of pituitary, another is called as the posterior lobe of pituitary. Both the lobes are there. So here, prolactin is produced by the anterior lobe of pituitary. The anterior lobe of pituitary is also called adenohypophysis. The secretion of prolactin is done by adenohypophysis. Which is also called anterior pituitary. This is also called anterior pituitary. Got? So that is secretion, site of secretion. Prolactin secreted by, you can write, instead of secretion, secreted by. But for the pituitary, when this will get secreted is during the lactation period. its concentration is high during the lactation period and it should be released by adenohypophysis. So, its concentration is high during lactation. Now it has other role also. It has a suppressive effect on gonadotropins and it starts becoming functional or acting onto the target organs during the after the parturition. Now this prolactin is secreted by adenohypophysis. Its concentration is high during lactation, having a suppressive effect onto the it suppresses the gonadotropins. Like the best examples of the gonadotropins are nothing but follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. These two hormones it is able to suppress. So, suppressive effect of gonadotropin. Now, what is its function? Helps in secretion. Helps in secretion of milk. This is going to help in secretion of the milk. So, secretion of milk by alveolar cells. It is going to help in the secretion of milk by alveolar cells. That will be the function of the prolactin. Got so that becomes the function of prolactin. It is responsible for secretion of milk and the milk is therefore stored in the alveolar cavity. So the next hormone will be oxytocin. When this prolactin is secreted, it is going to act on the alveolar cells, stimulate it is going to act on the alveolar cells, stimulate them to produce the milk. So that will be the function of prolactin. Then oxytocin. Oxytocin, it is having a general function which I told already in the last class. Oxytocin is a hormone responsible for smooth muscle contractions, okay, which during parturition it was responsible for contraction of smooth muscles of the uterus. Now during lactation, surrounding alveoli also there are some muscle tissue surrounding the alveoli. Those muscles will contract due to what is called the oxytocin. So when the muscles surrounding the alveoli will contract, that is going to release the milk or help in ejection of milk. So the milk secrete, okay, this is what is that. So oxytocin secreted by hypothalamus. Oxytocin is secreted by hypothalamus. Then hypothalamus, I told, it is also secretory. It is important part of the brain. It has some neurosecretory cells that are able to produce the hormone. All these properties the hypothalamus has, the master of master gland. Secreted by hypothalamus, But hypothalamus, the oxytocin from the hypothalamus directly is not released in the bloodstream. It has to go to the posterior pituitary. So stored in posterior pituitary. So it is going to be stored in the posterior pituitary. As you all know, posterior pituitary is also called what? Neurohypophysis. Produced by stored in neurohypophysis. Therefore, neurohypophysis will release this hormone into the bloodstream. Now, function of this hormone, first of all, so muscle tissues, smooth muscle tissues surrounding alveoli. It will help in contraction. That will be its function now. It will help in contraction of smooth muscles surrounding the alveoli. You can tell it's not purely a smooth muscle, it is a smooth muscle tissues around alveoli. The smooth muscle tissue is not only smooth muscle, but a kind of epithelium is there. That is called as a myoepithelium, a special kind of epithelium surrounding the alveoli called the myoepithelium is there. That is similar to the smooth muscles, and they have the receptors for the oxytocin. As a result, they are going to contract. And their contraction is therefore making the milk to be released, from what is called from its site of production to mammary tubules, to mammary ducts, lactiferous sinus, lactiferous duct, and finally outside. So therefore, function is causes contract, because of which there is milk letdown hormone. Now, therefore, another names of these two hormones. Next is HCS. Its role is not so important. Human chorionic somatomamotropin it is called, and this was in the past called human placental lactogen. Also called as human placental lactogen it is called. So, however, even though directly it is not responsible for lactation, like directly due to this hormone, the milk cannot be secreted. But what can be possible is, what is possible is through this hormone, it will help in development of mammary glands. But this one is secreted by placenta. This one is going to be secreted by the placenta. So, this was about the hormones involved in lactation. Now next is, what is prolactin also called, or what is oxytocin also called? So because of their function, these two hormones will get this name. Prolactin is also called milk secreting hormone. Prolactin is also called milk secreting hormone. Then what is oxytocin called? Oxytocin is called milk letdown hormone. Is also so because of which prolactin is called milk secreting hormones, whereas oxytocin is called milk let down hormone. What is let down hormone? See, milk secreting hormone, it is very easy for you all to understand it because this hormone is responsible for secretion of milk. Whereas milk let down means what? Milk let down can be known by one single term, and that is ejection. Milk let down can be known by a single term, and that is called ejection. Got? And this one, this particular hormone, or you can tell passage of the milk through the duct system. Passage of milk through the duct system. Again mentioning, actually no need to mention again, how I have to mention here is this milk is going to pass through the what? Alveolar cavity it begins. Mammary tubule, again I'm repeating it, that's all. Mammary tubules, mammary duct, lactiferous sinus, lactiferous duct, and finally release outside. Okay, then how, as I already told, neuroendocrine process. What is the role of this neuroendocrine process? What is that reflex called? A neuroendocrine process of lactation involves milk ejection reflex. What does this explain is for production of milk and its let down and all, what is necessary is milk ejection reflex is necessary. So for milk ejection to occur, the first step should be that there should be suckling action of baby. The suckling action of baby are going to stimulate some nerves which will start the action potential in some nerves or start a stimulus in the nerves, and those nerves will be ultimately connected to the hypothalamus. Got? And the hypothalamus is going to secrete the oxytocin, and also it is going to stimulate the anterior pituitary to continue to produce the prolactin. So as a result, these two hormones, when they are present in the bloodstream, they are going to increase and bring about their function, that is secretion of milk, and the second is ejection of milk. So this was about the role of hormones in lactation, and is also called milk ejection reflex. Okay. Then once the timing is usually lactation begins after parturition, which I told, within 24 hours after the parturition, it is going to begin. Got? Now next point is, what is the nature and the composition of the milk will be the next point. So, the milk which is produced initial days will be different from the rest of the month. So, next comes lactation period. What is lactation period? Okay. When we say lactation period, it is not lactation. The term is different here. Means for how much of time the milk production continues in a already parturiated woman. Okay. So after parturition, within 24 hours, once the lactation starts, the production of milk continues for an average of 6 months. So for some women, it can be more, or some it can be less, but average period during which the lactation occurs is the 6th month. So lactation period will be how much? 6 months. During these 6 months, she is going to produce the milk, and that milk is used to nourish the young ones. So that is the function, that is all about what is called the lactation period and purpose of lactation here. Okay, during this lactation period, as you will know the role of hormone now, during this lactation period, which hormone should be high in concentration? Prolactin. Prolactin is high during lactation period. So prolactin concentration is high in order to maintain the milk production, and what happens is this hormone only continues to help in secretion of the milk. During this period, that is the lactation period of 6 months, since prolactin is high, the gonadotropins will get suppressed. As a result, there is no menstrual cycle in the female. So, therefore, this will come in a natural contraceptive method in the next chapter. Next is type of milk. The first few days the milk produced is different from rest of the days. After those few days the milk produced is different. So basically you can tell that there are two types of milk. So initial few days whatever the milk is produced, that is called as colostrum. That is called as colostrum. Whereas rest of the after these few days, the remaining time, whatever the milk is produced, is called as the mature milk. So there is some importance of this colostrum. This colostrum is actually highly nutritious milk. So next I'll explain you about what here? Colostrum. So next is about the colostrum. Okay. First point will be it is produced in the initial few days, which I already told. Initial few days only it will be there. So it is highly nutritious for newborn. It is for newborn, rich in nutrients, you can tell. Rich in nutrients. So initial few days it will be produced and it is going to be very rich in nutrients. This nutritious milk, it is very necessary for the newborn to maintain itself for growth and for maintenance, for health, for immunity and all. So what are the composition? It is supposed to be rich in protein. So protein, it is rich in protein and it is yellowish in color. The milk colostrum is yellowish in color and somewhat translucent. It is yellowish and translucent milk it is. Now this is going to be rich in protein. Comparatively, it has less carbohydrates and less fat. So calorie wise, it is going to be less. So less fat and less what is called uh, carbohydrates. Understand? But it is rich in protein. So this will be useful for the health of the newborn. But one of the important points one should know in colostrum is there is presence of a molecule called IgA. Ig stands for immunoglobulin. Ig stands for immunoglobulin. And this term is actually means immunoglobulins is also called antibody. Immunoglobulin is also called antibody. What is this role of this antibody? The newborn, uh, the newborn immune system is not developed, or it is still in the process of developing. Okay, so it requires health. I mean prevention of diseases. It requires protection and defense system. So mother's antibodies present in colostrum is acting as a protective role for the newborn. So newborn will get immunity due to this immunoglobulin A. A is a type of antibody. There are many other types in the antibodies. A is one of the type. So this type will be present in colostrum. So what is the main function here? IgA provides immunity. Immunity means resistance to diseases, or you can tell the diseases will not occur in the newborn. When you tell, then it means that it is having immunity. So immunity to newborn. Once in initial days, if the newborn is protected and immunity is provided, then later on, once its own immune system will start developing, then it will start its own active immunity that time. Understand? So therefore, this is the important component of the colostrum. Okay, it also has vitamins and other. It's totally nutrient rich. It's totally nutrient rich. Now if you compare this with a mature milk, so compared to colostrum, mature milk may be less nutritious, but it doesn't mean it is totally absent of nutrition. So mature milk, for example, it's not yellowish in color, but rather it is more whitish. And here, apart from proteins compared to colostrum, the ratio may be less. But here, carbohydrates and fats and all will be more. And mature milk does not have IgA at all. It also does have IgA. And I told that is the important molecule that provides nutrition to the newborn, provides good food for the newborn. So that is the importance of mature milk. And this completes the topic lactation. This topic is the last topic in the human reproduction. And with this particular topic, what completes is the human reproduction chapter is complete. So what you should know in this topic is definition of lactation, the hormones involved in lactation, the type of reflex present in the lactation, and finally what is called the combination, that means a composition. You can tell composition, the initial few days whatever composition of milk is there, it is somewhat different from the other milk, so that's why it has a different name. It is highly nutritious and it is named as colostrum.